If you ask anyone who's moved abroad for work or school or for whatever reason, they will tell you that one of the greatest challenge that they face is loneliness or lack of friends. And that is something that I've experienced, and now that I look back, I feel like there are some tips that I wish I knew that would have helped me to kind of ease out from this traumatic or sad experience of not having friends, and which in turn leads to feeling lonely. And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video 5 things or tips that could help you make friends or acquaintances when you move to a new city for the first time. The very first thing I want to tell you before giving you my first 5 tips or top tips is that you need to be open-minded, and you need to know that this is just a phase and it would not last. It's, you know, it's just for a while, and by me saying a while, it could take up to a year. It could even take less. It's also a function of your personality and the location where you're at. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't worry, you get through this. And like I said, you need to really be open-minded. Forget everything that you think you know, and just be ready to embrace a new way of thinking or doing things, or a new culture or set of values. I don't mean that you have to change your values, but just be receptive to understanding that not everybody is going to be like you. So with that said, let's get into tip number 1: making friends in your community or the community where you spend a significant amount of your time. For example, what I mean by that is, if you're someone who has moved to a new place for school, then that community will be your school, your university, or whatever it is. If you've moved for work, then that will be work. If it's neither of these places, or you're the kind of person who's religious, your religious community is a great place for you to meet people. I think people in religious communities are even way more welcoming than schools or even work, and that's because there's just this sense of community there already. I remember that when I moved abroad for work and I didn't know anyone, the church was really the place where I felt the most at home. They were very nice. I made a lot of friends, and by making a lot of friends, let me just tell you from the get-go, it's not like I made friends that were necessarily in my age bracket. I made a lot of older friends, but I didn't mind it, you know. It gave me a different perspective of life, and it was just really nice. I had older friends, I had like really young friends because I was a Sunday school teacher, so I had a lot of younger friends, and for me it was very fulfilling. The rest of the week could be a whole mess because work wasn't exactly like my favorite place, but going to church on Sunday became not necessarily about, for one, of course, primary reasons because I want to go hear the word of God, but I just looked forward to seeing those people being there, being in that place where I felt loved, and I could call any of them outside of church for help, and they were always willing to help me, and it just blossomed into something beautiful. So really harness it. And the mistake I made is, and I don't want you to make it, is, for example, if you're in a school setting, I think this is like the really best place for you to make good relationships, because everyone is on kind of like on the same pedestal, in the sense that if you're like an international and you say you've come for a master's, like in my case, a bunch of you in your class might also have come from different parts of the world, and I see it as a great opportunity for you to grow your mindset and learn about other cultures. If you're not fortunate to travel, this is really a great avenue for you to learn all these things. I remember I had a classmate then who used to like cook his food in his room, and he would invite all of us down there, and I can tell you he made so many people loved him for that. So find something that you can use to bring people to you, or it will make people want to chill around you or want to learn more around you. Be that person who laughs. And again, if you're introverted like me and that is not really your cup of tea, that's not your style, don't be too hard on yourself. Find your space, okay? Find something that you can do that would make people want to chill with you. Or if you have a group project, don't just let that group project end as a group project. Like, try to follow up with that person. That's if you want the person to be your friend. Because I kid you not, making friends as an adult is already hard as it is. So don't make it complicated. And I know there's also the tendency for you to want to, gravitate to people that look like you. That is a very huge and a valid tendency that I also faced when I moved for school. I didn't necessarily want to make friends, or I didn't care too much about deepening or evolving my relationship with some of my other classmates, just because they were very different from mine, and I felt like their idea of fun didn't match mine. For example, they might want to go hiking or clubbing. And none of these things are bad. It's just because I didn't grow up that way thinking those things were fun. For example, as a typical Nigerian girl, drinking beer is not something that the society I grew up in gave you a pat on the back for, if you get what I mean. So that was very, very foreign to me. And one thing that I did wrongly was judge people for that. So because of that, in my head, I'm like, oh my god, I can't be friends with this person. But it's just a very archaic and small way of thinking. So don't fall into that. It took me a while to kind of like break out from it. And this brings me to my second point, which in a way is kind of, let's say, applicable to London and not necessarily all other places, just because here in London we do something called flat sharing. I think flat shares are a great way for you to meet people. So for those of you that don't know what flat share is essentially you rent a room in a flat with a bunch of other strangers. And as scary as that might seem, it's usually a great way for you to meet new people, and you may or may not become good friends or acquaintances, but I think it's one of the ways you could try. I did it as well. I personally think, unless you're coming as a family person and you already have like your family that you're moving to a house with, if you're coming as a single person, I strongly encourage flat shares. I don't think it's bad. I think experience it and then decide if it's for you or not. But back to the point I'm trying to make is, I would have said make friends with your neighbors, but here people kind of tend to want to mind their business. So I don't know, unless you're really bold and you can go and knock on your neighbor's doors and you're like wanting to do the American thing of taking the pie over and being like, hey neighbor, it's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird. Like, if someone comes knock on my door now, I'm gonna look at you with side eye like,
what's going on?
So flat shares are nicer because you guys are sharing basic amenities in the house. I think it's a good way for you to meet people that are not also from your place or from different backgrounds. Maybe you're in the kitchen and someone's in the kitchen, or both of you are in the lounge at the same time. You can start off a friendly conversation, and that's how you can make friends. I know that my very first flat share, one of the girls and I still are in communication up until today. She was super duper nice to me and I just loved her. Like, she's such an amazing person. So yeah, make friends from old acquaintances or referrals. What I mean by that is, maybe you knew someone and you guys were not like super duper close in uni, and you've now moved to this new place and you find out that this person is here. Oh my god, take this advice from me, call that person up, because chances are that person is just like you and that person doesn't have anybody. And that is something that you both have in common, and you guys can actually help each other out. You guys can become friends. I know that, like, it has happened to me twice when I was in France. Someone from my university back home that I never used to talk to, I didn't even like him at all, became like really, really good friends because I found out that he was working where I was going to be working, and we met up for lunch, and the rest was history basically. Same thing here. I messaged a few people that I knew from my secondary school that were in London. I was like, hey, I'm coming to London, do you guys want to meet up? Not everybody responded, so don't be offended when not everybody responds. Different people are in different stages in their life and they have a lot going on for them, but just give it a go. It's usually a great way. You might meet them and they might probably invite you for something like a dinner or something, and then you get to meet their other friends who can eventually turn out to be your you might even end up being closer to those other people that you met at their event. So definitely go. Also ask people for referrals. So maybe your family member, your mom knows one auntie somewhere. See, I know sometimes we don't want our parents kind of interfere, but sometimes it might just work. Or if you know someone that knows someone. Same thing when I was going to France. I had a friend who I was like, hey, this is where I'm going. And he basically called me. I was like, I know someone who's going to your university. This is her number. Call her up. She ended up becoming one of my really, really good friends till today. So definitely looking to have people refer people or call up people in the past that you may not have, said hi to in a while. Don't be scared. Just do it. My fourth point is use social media. Yes, I know it sounds very, oh my god, social media is called social media for a reason. Well, I know that these days they have ulterior motives right now, in the sense that they're doing a lot of marketing and advertising, but that's not the crux of this of this video. Let's go back to it. Social media, you can actually use it to your advantage. I've met a few cool people by sliding into DMs, not just for like relationship purposes. I've not done that before but I remember that I met Nigerian in London who is so amazing. Of course we didn't become like super duper close friends, but there was that first conversation. We chat from time to time, and we've actually met up in person. We've actually planned to do other stuff, so it would build up over time. And it just happened by me looking at someone's profile and being like, hey, I think this person is nice, and she might be a real self off camera, because you never know who people really are off camera. People sell good stuff on the gram about themselves, so you have to be a little bit cautious when you do that. Another thing that I always do as well is, if I move into a place for the first time or going to work in a place or school, I like to look up people on LinkedIn, and it has really helped me tremendously. So I remember when I moved to London for work, I went on LinkedIn and I searched for someone that was already working where I was working, Nigerian, went to the same university as I did, and I basically messaged him and I'm like, hey, I'm moving here, please help me. And he was so kind. Please bear in mind that not everybody will be keen to help you or respond to your message, so please do not feel entitled when they do not respond. He basically told me everything I needed to know before moving, what areas to leave, how long I need, all those important stuff that I couldn't even find off the internet. And when I moved, he just didn't stop there. He actually invited me over for barbecue. I met his family, I met his friends, it's just been really, really good. Of course, remember, not everybody is going to be like your super jolly best friend, but appreciate those acquaintances and try to nurture those relationships that actually evolves into becoming like a really good friendship that you want. Okay, find friends based off your interest using apps that might help you, like Meetup. Meetup is such an amazing app, guys. I love this app so much, because the best way or the easiest way to make a friend or form reasonable friendships is if you guys actually have something in common. With all the things I've mentioned, the closest to that will be that making friends with people in your community, because you sort of have something in common, which is the community. But this is really nice because you can basically say what you're interested in on the app. Like if you're into fashion, art, movies, walking, hiking, Afrobeat, dance, and all of things like that, you would be in groups where they would show you groups, and these groups usually organize events, and you can actually go there and meet people. The app is really, really good. I've enjoyed it. I've made really good friends from using this app. But I know that we've come to the end of my 5 tips. Don't go. I have one more bonus for you, and that is be open-minded and talk to people wherever you go, of course with a note of caution, but it could be anywhere from taking the bus or the train, or you are in the library, you meet someone, or you went out for dinner and someone is sitting next to you or something. But like I mentioned, just be cautious. But you never can tell where you can meet someone and you guys can just hit it off and be jolly friends from there. I know I met someone when I went to renew my visa the other day. I also met someone and we've just like started talking and saying hi, hello, just from a friend's birthday party that I attended, you know. So just be open-minded. And one thing I'll tell you is when you meet people, also try to follow up. This is a note to myself because I have this terrible habit of not really following up, but try to follow up, keep in touch. And I hope that these tips are very helpful and it helps ease out all that loneliness, you know. It's hard, it is hard, but it will pass. Eventually you will find your tribe, you'll find your people, and this new environment will soon become home. I wish you all the best and thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe for more content like this. And in my last breath, make sure to share it with people that you think it would help. All right, thank you guys so much. Bye.